Hey guys, welcome to the last day before your ELA assessment. I wanted to thank you for those of you who have truly been putting in the effort as we've been going along to make sense of everything that we've been learning this year and successfully applying it to the individual strategies that you're going to see on the assessment. Because remember, today was my last kind of final pep talk where you got to ask me questions. I got to, hopefully try to inspire you to try your best on these assessments, because really what we're after is we're after everybody out there knowing who we truly are. And we know that the only way we capture that is by giving our full and best effort when we take this assessment, which means we're following all the strategies. We're making sure we get a good night's sleep. We're making sure we're eating. We're making sure we're following all the steps in the process to make sure that we do the best we can. Because that's all we can expect of ourselves. No matter what you get, if you try your best, 1, 2, 3, 4, it doesn't matter as much as you giving your best. Because then we get a true sense of who we are, where we are, and how we can move forward. And best of all, it sends a message to the community that who we are as people and what we're going to do with our education is important to us, and we're going to use that to better the world outside. Because really, other than that, the only reason that we have these tests is for your teachers to see kind of as a whole how we're doing and what we need to maybe focus on a little bit more the next time we go through the curriculum and give you a sense of just kind of where to bring you up. And if you need AIS, then we provide AIS to give you the support that you need to really move forward. And so a reminder that this is all about your effort and your doing your best. And honestly, no matter what you get, I'm still going to like you. People are still going to like you just as much as if you didn't get that score or you did get a higher score or whatever. All I ask is that you put your best foot forward. I do want to highlight just a couple of the things that we talked about, because I gave you this last opportunity to ask questions before tomorrow and you get started with all your stuff. I want to run through really quickly the skim, read, answer strategy, which you can go back. I'll give the links back down in the body of this post. I'll give the links back to the last couple of times through the strategies for the video blog post so that you can get a real refresher of that. Remember that you're doing skim, read, answer. It's a 12-minute process. 4 minutes to skim the passage, which means you're reading every word, but you're doing it quickly, and if you don't understand things, you're not going back. You're just trying to read for an overall sense of the gist of the article, the main idea, get a sense for overall what is this talking about. Then you're going to skim the questions and the answers. You're doing this to get a sense for what should I be focusing on? What type of information does the author want me to get out of it, as specifically indicated by the question? See, we're helped out a little bit on author's purpose for that, because that's what we're always after, author's purpose, because the main idea is crystallized there. But these questions help us out a little bit. They direct us towards points in the text where we should be paying attention. And so we use those questions to direct us when we go back and we actually read. Now remember, you don't answer the questions yet. You're just skimming them to get a sense of what you should be focusing on when you actually read. Because when you do that, you're going to go back through, and as you get to things, answers are going to start hopping out to you. Don't answer the questions yet. Don't flip back and forth. Just underline or highlight or star where you think you might be able to find an answer later when you go back and answer the questions. Remember, the second time you're reading it, you get another 4 minutes to really read. Buckle down and focus on what those 2 minutes of skimming the questions have allowed you to focus on. Then once you're finally done with that 10-minute process, you go on, you look at the questions. Now you can flip back and forth because you've actually read for main idea once and read for the specifics and really read for full understanding the second time. So that's what you're going to be doing tomorrow. You got 6 passages, 42 questions, 90 minutes. You bang it out. If you're using the strategies, you are going to be golden. You're going to get the right answers. You're going to do well. Really make sure you're focused on what it is your job is. As a reader, forget as a test taker, forget as a student, as a reader, what your job is, and you'll do just fine. The other question I was getting a lot of, you're not going to see this specifically on the assessment, but it has to do with how you approach different types of texts. Remember, in any type of text, whether it be expository or informational, which are kind of in the same family, narrative, which is a story, or persuasive, which is an argument or claims-based writing. No matter what, if you're doing that writing or if you're reading on that, remember the connection is over the thing that is the focus of the piece. If it's a narrative, the focus is the story, probably most likely the main character. So that's what you're trying to connect to the author through, is the story and the main character. That's what alters how you read that particular genre. Well, if we're looking at informational texts, we know we're not looking at the same things because we're trying to connect to the reader, not over, or to the writer, not over a story, but over the information itself. So other things pop up as being the most important to us rather than the character and the plot. We might be focused more on what are the implications of all of it, which is really the main idea. What does this information mean? What's the how? What's the why that's there? Okay? That's our best route to getting a main idea there. We're looking at persuasive writing. You probably won't read persuasive writing, but all the pieces of writing that you perform on this assessment is persuasive writing. So remember, you're connecting to the reader through the argument that you're making, the position that you're taking. And remember, you can't do that unless you provide solid supporting evidence directly from the text that supports your claim and is not too skimpy or is not just your own words about whatever that you pulled from wherever. Because remember, the true experts are the people who wrote the passage. So you want to take as much as you can directly from the questions and the text. That having been said, let's take a look over here at what a popular question was today about character, plot, conflict, theme, which we know are the four biggies, and we know they're mostly used when we're talking about narrative text, which means text that tells a story. I'm going to run through this very quickly, but I'm going to give you a link to the original time I talked about character, plot, conflict, theme, and how it relates to plot structure. I'll give you a link to that in the body of the blog post. So really quickly, we know that character is who we are. Well, who we are directly influences what we do. Now, the things that we do, they lead us into certain situations where we have obstacles to overcome or problems that we face. Well, we call those obstacles or problems conflict. Now, we know that whenever we get into a conflict, it's going to necessarily change what we have to do in order to get through it. It's going to change what we do, the plot. Well, you notice, I'm going to take a pause from right here because this happens for a very long time throughout the course of the piece, whatever story we're reading. And you notice that conflict does, in fact, directly change plot. Because we know that this thing is plot structure, right? We've got exposition, we've got rising action, we've got climax, we've got falling action, we've got resolution. Okay, well, what does all that stuff mean? Well, if we didn't have conflict to change the plot, our lives and the storylines would just be this. One flat surface that doesn't change at all. But something happens. That's what's called an inciting incident, or what I've been describing to you as when the main conflict is introduced. Right? Because what happens when the main conflict is introduced is in the plot, something changes enough that tension keeps going up, 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 until finally the character has to make a decision, or a decision is made for the character. In some way, shape, or form, there's a point of no return and a decision is made. We call that decision the climax. Because after that, everything that's going to happen happens as a result of that climax. Well, as we all know, every conflict must get resolved. Well, so eventually that decision leads to a resolution, for good or for bad. And it's when that resolution takes place, and only when that resolution takes place, that we can step back. See, we're on that flat plane again. There's no drama, no drama. You don't want no drama, so don't pull on my hand. No? Okay. When you're back in the flat part, and the drama has kind of subsided and the conflict has been resolved, we can take a step back and look at what's kept coming up over and over and over again, and then we analyze it. We try to understand what's happened. And eventually, we arrive at a conclusion that changes who we are. Because we've learned something. We've come out the other side and we've learned something. Well, when the author crafts a story, they want us to learn the same thing the character learns. That's kind of how all of this works. See, if we're doing our jobs as readers, and they're doing their jobs as a writer, the things that we're connecting to mostly in a narrative text are the character and the plot. Well, once we come out the other end, the character is changed as a result of the plot and everything that's happened. Well, that change is by the author's design. It was the author's purpose to make that change happen in the character. Well, we know as readers, as quality readers, that locked up in author's purpose is the main idea. They're related because the thing that the author wants you to get is the thing that's going to be the center of everything we're talking about. So in a narrative text, this is the structure that we go through in order to make sure that our analysis leads to some sort of change that is around the main idea. And you think, that's all well and good, Mr. Kaz. But what if I'm reading informational text? We don't really analyze it the same way with a storyline, with characters, with plot, with conflict, with theme. Well, we kind of do. It's just applied differently, right? Right. We still have a character. We call it a who. We still have the plot. It's the what and the how of what's happening in this informational passage. The conflict relates directly back to the why and the how. It's the purpose for everything that's going on and how it's all happening, and eventually we come out the other end with a main idea. See, we use the 5 W's and an H because they're more applicable. The when and the where make a big difference when we're talking about informational text. So, in an informational text, we're still connecting to the main idea and the author's purpose. But the author's purpose has now shifted from telling a story to providing information. Well, we know that that's kind of a different process. When we're focused on narratives, usually we're focused on emotions. When we're focused on informational text, usually we're focused on logic. Allow that to guide you, whatever you see on the assessment. And when you're writing, remember that you are a persuasive writer. Sure, they give you a question, but they want you to answer it with authority and back it up, which means that you're having the reader connect to you when you're writing these things over your point that you're making, and you have to provide support in order for them to do it. Hopefully this has cleared all of this up, and I haven't confused you any further. Follow the links below if you're still really, really confused about these things. Otherwise, guys, get a great night's sleep tonight. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, MySpace, whatever it is that you use, Tumblr, Etsy, any of the blah, 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 the noise, video games, whatever it is that you're on that keeps you up at night, that keeps you away from your responsibilities, let them go for a few days. Let them go. The world will still be fine without it, and they'll be there waiting for you once all of this is done. But get a good night's sleep tonight. Don't fill your brain with a lot of mush. Maybe spend 15-20 minutes reviewing the strategy sheet that you've got, reviewing the concepts from the year. Eat breakfast tomorrow. If you don't have breakfast at home, we serve breakfast here. Some of you get it for free. Some of you, it'd just be under $2 to fill your stomach so that you can focus and concentrate on the task at hand. Guys, I believe in you. Do the things that you know how to do, and you're going to do just fine. And we're going to show them out there who've been bad-mouthing us because of our results. We're going to show them the scoreboard. We're going to shut them up. We're going to be the first step in writing this district's reputation because you're smart enough to do it, and if you want to work hard and make that effort, you can do it. I hope you do. I'll see you tomorrow. Don't forget everything we've talked about. Don't forget to do your best. You'll be fine. Have a great night.